All right, welcome back, you guys. So today I got my good friend Kevin O'Keefe from San Diego. We're going to have just kind of a conversation and hopefully give you guys a lot of good takeaways. Kevin and I are going to have pretty much a mastermind session that just happens to be recorded that we are going to share with you guys. So, Kevin, I appreciate you doing this like always. And I want to talk about mainly absentee owners, which is a lead source. It's so funny. I didn't even tell you this off air. I just did another podcast style interview with somebody else who's been in the industry for 30 years. And they never thought of or heard of working absentee owners, which is like your bread and butter. Is that right?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me on today. Yeah, absentees are probably my favorite lead source. For the number one reason is probably because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
And the number two reason is because there's very low competition compared to all these other lead sources like FSBOs, expireds, and whatnot.
Yeah. And that's what I want to let's just talk through that today. And I want to maybe just walk through as many step-by-steps as we can. So people that are watching this can really get their eyes open to what I've been saying for a long time, like the hidden gem in our business. And you're right. I mean, there's thousands of them. So even if other agents, catch on, I mean, I still think the competition is very, very low because FSBOs, expireds, we might have one or two of those a day, and regardless of what market you're in. So let's first off define so people understand what absentee owners are, because I think a lot of people get confused, and then we'll get into some more nitty gritty. So what are most of these people that you're talking to? I mean, we're not talking about the investor that has 700 investment properties. We're talking about regular people like you and I that have like one or two second home or investment properties. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly right. So it's anyone with a second home or investment property. Most of them are rented out, but some of them are vacant. So, and those happen to be the best ones that are vacant because they're not being used. There's usually higher motivation there, but yeah, it's anyone with a second home or rental, and a lot of these properties are given to them. Someone in their family passed away and they were handed down. They are less emotionally connected to the properties. So there's a higher probability of them wanting to transact, whether that's sell their current property or acquire more, or, there's a whole number of things they could do.
Yeah. And when you're calling these folks, their motivation is high because, yeah, you nailed it. Number one, that's not where they live. So there's no emotional tie to the property. Are you finding that a large portion, and I'm curious how close you've tracked this, a large percentage of them are motivated to transact at some point in the future, like more so than just randomly circle prospecting?
Yeah, I mean, most of them will do something at some point. Circle prospecting, you're calling the home that they're living in. So there's, unless there's just a lot less motivation there usually. But yeah, at some point, I mean, most of the leads that I get from calling absentees are future business. So it takes a lot of following up. And there's a few now, business leads in there, but most of them will do something at some point.
What percentage do you think that is? Like, if you're just spitballing, just guessing, like, because how many contacts or how many absentee owners will you call per day on average, roughly?
It depends. I prospect absentees usually about 2 hours a day. So that will maybe I'll call 200 depending on, how things are going, how long the conversations are.
And how many, so 200 dials, right? 200 dials
Yeah.
and then how many conversations does that yield? Let's give people like the ratios.
I probably average around 30 contacts a day.
Okay. And then out of those 30 conversations, how many turn into a seller lead or a seller nurture that you're going to add to the database and follow up with?
So my numbers are probably, I think, a little bit lower than some other parts of the country, like where you're at. I get probably 2 leads out of 30.
Okay.
Out of 30 that I've talked to.
Got it.
And it could go either way too. Some days I'll get 4, some I'll even go, none some days. It just kind of depends.
So Well, I guess that's the good thing, right? Though, like, so out of 2 hours worth of work, you're coming out with at least 2 seller listing opportunities. Would that be fair?
Yeah, and I say, and by lead, I mean someone that says they're going to do something in the next 12 months or less.
And to add 12 months or less, and um, will give you an opportunity to earn their business, right? Like both of those
Right.
things have to be true for them to go into Kevin's database.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right. So let's break it down from the beginning. So first off, where are you finding the best absentee owner leads, would you say? What are you using these days?
So I'm using Mojo actually, and I know a lot of people don't like the Mojo data, but what I did for Mojo was you can pay for their I don't know what they're called, geo leads, maybe something like that, neighborhood
Yeah.
search. And there's a box you can check where you can select all non-owner occupied. So what I did was I paid for it and I went in and downloaded every single absentee number in my whole market. So I have a database of 80,000 phone numbers in my
Wow.
Mojo account that I can call through. So that's where I'm getting at. The accuracy of the numbers is actually pretty good too.
That's great. So you're using Mojo, triple line dialer. You're getting
Yep.
their data now. I think a lot of these lead providers are now getting absentee owners, which is making it easier, right? So I know RedX added theirs, and I know Vulcan 7 added theirs, where you
Yeah.
can now get their geo leads and select non-owner occupied. And so they've now added that to their platforms, just like Mojo has. So, and then you're finding that their lead quality is fine, right? Like it's no issues, and that's what you're using.
Yep, exactly. There's no issues there, and I have tons of numbers to call through. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm glad I came across that source. But really, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of different options out there.
Yeah.
You just have to find one that works for you, that gives you good data for your area. Because I know that I've heard different stories. Some people, Mojo in some markets provides terrible data, I've heard.
Yep.
So you just have to try different things until you find one that works.
Yeah, because you were using a different source for a long time, and then you
Yeah.
just found that. When did you transition full time to just having Mojo be your full time lead source? Was that this year?
Yeah, I was using a program called Haynes,
That's right.
and that was really good data, but they cut off the absentee feature last year.
Really?
So yeah, so I canceled that out, and then there was like a period of time where I was kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And then I just talked to a few other agents that were using Mojo, and I decided to give that a shot since I use Mojo for everything. I try not to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
So my whole CRM is in Mojo, the dialer's in Mojo, all my leads are there, everything is there. So I don't have to go and log into different, platforms to move my leads around. It's all in one spot.
I love it. And that's it's a whole nother topic, but it wasn't always like that, right? Like even myself, I had systems and all kinds of crap everywhere. So you've simplified everything, which makes, I think, life just a lot easier as far as managing different systems and getting results. So, all right. So you're getting the data from Mojo. You will call for 2 hours. That gets you 20, 30 conversations. Out of those 20, 30 conversations, you got about a 10% conversion from contact to lead generated. Is that right?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
Pretty close to that.
All right. So let's walk through and show the people, I guess, kind of what those conversations sound like, because I think this is where a lot of agents, I mean, that's where a lot of their questions or their hangups are. Like, what do I say? What's the approach? How do I work this source of business? So can you walk us through, I guess, your mindset with the conversation and where you're trying to take it and what your goals are with the conversation?
Yeah, the conversation is really simple. I'm just saying their name, and then I'm asking them if they still own the property at 123 Main Street. And then I ask them if they've thought about selling in today's market, considering how high the market is. And they most of the time they'll say no. And that's just a reflex no usually.
That's right. I was hoping you were going to say that. We didn't script that, but you've been trained enough now. I hope that it's just a reflex.
Yeah, so you have to dig a little bit deeper usually. Ask them how long they've owned the property, how long it's been a rental, if they'll consider selling in the future if prices continue to go up. It kind of varies depending on the conversation, how it's flowing, but I'll ask a few more additional questions and try to determine if there really is a lead there or not. And, if there's not, then I let them go usually and move on to the next one.
Good.
If there is, obviously the first goal is always to set an appointment, but on these type of calls, that rarely happens.
Yep.
And what usually happens is me getting an email address and offering them a CMA. And I send them the CMA and then schedule a follow-up call to review the CMA.
All right, let me pause right there. So before we go any further, I want to just rewind for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
You said, like, and it's so good. So many agents are going to benefit from this. You call a prospect, right? They don't expect you. They're not expecting your call. You're calling out of the blue. You're calling a hyper targeted list of prospects, absentee owners, and most of the time they're giving you some type of reflex resistance. Most agents right there are done, right? And walk us through, I guess, or let's just talk about it. Let's just mastermind through that. I mean, there's no difference than when you and I go to a department store and they say, how can I help you? We all respond with, no, thanks, I'm just looking. And then we just pull out our wallet in 5 minutes and buy something, right? So there's no difference in that. That's what you've experienced as well, correct?
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. They know that if they tell you no, that most salespeople will get off the phone at that point.
So when they give you that resistance, and how I handle it is through ARPing, right? I just say, yeah, totally makes sense. I get it. Let me ask you, how long have you owned the property? Is that how you transition into the next question?
Yeah, I'll say something like, yeah, I get it. Most people aren't looking to sell right now. Let me ask you, how long have you owned the property?
Beautiful. And from that moment, that then puts you in an opportunity to further the conversation and then uncover the true motivation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so, go ahead. I'm sorry, what were we going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, and even though I go down that line of questions, most of these prospects that I'm calling are not going to be a lead. So, I don't just keep going and going and going. If I determine, based on how they're answering me, I have to gauge whether I should keep asking them more questions or not.
Absolutely. I think the takeaway though, Kevin, for people that are going to get the first takeaway from this little mastermind, I think is that let me ask you, what percentage, again, we're just spitballing, of the leads you do generate come through prolong or furthering the conversation versus people just coming out of the gate and saying, yeah, we'd love to sell, like if you had to guess?
I had to guess probably like 80%.
Come through
asking an additional question. Yeah.
All right. So this is the point, everyone. Like, this is the takeaway. Listen to what Kevin just said. It's been my experience is the same thing. So this means 80% of the leads that you get, the listings that you're going to get, are going to come through getting through the initial reflex resistance. And therefore, if you are just giving up on that first ask, you're losing 80% of the opportunity. Would you think that's a fair assessment?
Yeah. And I used to do that too. And I would get I used to just dial like crazy and do like 1,000 dials a day. And I'd do 100 contacts and I would just blow through them like that. They'd say no. And I'd be like, click next. And I'd run into leads still, but it was just like a huge numbers game at that, where I just had to call so many to get a lead. So if you just dig a little bit deeper on the conversations you do have, you can have fewer conversations and still generate leads.
And that's what we call skills. It's funny because you're only calling 2 hours now, where before, you're right, you were calling 4, 5, 6 hours a day, crazy amounts of effort, where now you're only doing 2 hours a day and getting the same result. You just learned how to stay in the pocket, stay calm, ask questions, increase your skills. Okay. So that makes a ton of sense. So most of them, I would agree, are going to turn into some type of seller nurture or leading to a CMA. So that conversation, when you can stay calm, typically is like, Kevin, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we just see what the property is worth? I'll send you an email with a pricing analysis. And then you try to work that relationship to presenting the CMA so the seller can really visualize what their property would sell for in today's market. And in my experience, that's when you find the real lead or not. Is that what you're finding as well?
Yeah, because they'll usually say, they'll give me a timeline at that point, oh, that the price looks good, but the tenant's in there until December, so I can't do anything until then. Okay, perfect. I put them in my follow-up. That's what I expect.
Yep.
It's never like, it's really hardly ever, oh, that number looks good, let's get it on the market right now.
That's right.
Really, I mean, I've converted some of them with 2 years of follow-up. So it's a long-term game for sure, for the most part. But yeah, you have to ask them their timeline so you know when to follow up, and then you have to have a system to follow up with them too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure. We're going to spend a lot of time on that follow-up piece for sure. Because if you don't have a follow-up, what I tell people, Kevin, and I'm curious to get your thoughts, is like, if you're going to spend time making, prospecting calls, if you don't have a follow-up system, that initial effort is a waste of time. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I've wasted a lot of time doing that too in the past, and just not following up and losing listings because of it. So that's the most important thing, is the follow-up. If you're not going to do that, you might as well not prospect.
That's exactly right. And that's where I think a lot of agents say, oh, prospecting is a waste of time. Well, it is a waste of time. If you don't have a follow-up system, you are wasting your time. You're not going to get shit from the initial contact. That's why we call it's lead generation. You're prospecting to get leads, and then you have lead follow-up where the lead conversion happens into appointments. So, all right. So step one, you're making the initial call. We're trying to determine, are they motivated to sell? Step two, I think, is getting that phone call to some type of CMA exchange, right? So you're emailing the CMA. That step, you are scheduling a CMA phone call, Zoom? Tell us about that a little bit, how you're doing it.
Yeah, most of the time I just do a phone call.
Yep.
And unless they say, yeah, the property is vacant, or they give me some indication that it could be now business or something, coming up very soon. But most of the time I'll know that it's going to be some, months out. So what I do is just schedule up a phone call to review it. And I don't go super in depth with that because I haven't seen the property usually. I just want to make sure that they receive the CMA, answer any questions that they had, and just kind of go over a very broad price range on what they could expect in the market. So I don't go super deep on those, but I save that for, the listing appointment when that time comes.
So you're using that CMA phone call, which I do the same thing, to determine motivation, timeframes, and then it's really the start of the follow-up process, correct?
Yeah. And they really so I use Cloud CMA.
Yeah.
And I choose my own comps, so I don't do the automated, comp choice thing, but I use that because I think it looks nice, and they love, seeing the package in their email, or if they don't have email, I'll even do like a FedEx package. I'll mail it to them, and when they get it, and they love it. So it's like something that makes me stand out, because the presentation of the CMA looks really nice instead of just the one page off the MLS. Something a little bit more.
Do you have one you can screen share or show us? Like on your desktop maybe, or
I don't know. I'd have to look around for it. I don't.
That's okay. Yeah. Well, I think cloud CMAs the presentation of the information is just so good. Mm-hmm. And so for you guys watching this replay on YouTube or Instagram, wherever you guys are going to watch this, just go play around with Cloud CMA. Does your MLS integrate with Cloud CMA, or did you have to get that on your own?
It integrates, but I have to pay for it though.
Okay.
So there's a way to export leads onto Cloud CMA from the MLS, but okay. I pay like yearly for Cloud CMA to be able to generate those reports.
How much do you pay for that service?
I think it's around $500, but I think that's for 2 years, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Unlimited CMAs?
Yeah. I'm trying to log in right now to see if I can pull one up here.
Yeah, take your time. Again, this is just a good mastermind session. I think people would get a lot of value because they're always like, what do you send? What does it look like? What should I send? Because you can generate you're right. Like we generate so many leads. You have to come up with some type of CMA system that allows you to generate these as fast as possible, because you're not spending a ton of time creating these, correct?
No, it's really easy for me. I just go into the MLS and choose my comps and then hit export, and then it brings them over to it, and then I can generate it like within 5 minutes. I have one up if I can figure out how to share screen.
Hover over your screen, and then there's going to be a green button in the middle that says share screen.
Okay.
with your mouse, and then you can pick your screen you want to share, double click that, and then you'll be sharing your screen with us. Boom. Oh, there
So
we go.
this is a one that I did a couple weeks ago.
So it comes through as a PDF like this?
Yeah, I can save it as PDF or I can give them a link to it.
Nice. Oh, so
This,
if you send them a link, you can send them a link, like text them a link, and they can just open up right on their phone too, right?
yeah, I could. I usually I'll email the link and then, but yeah, you could text it too.
Cool. Yeah. Scroll through this. Let's just kind of look at this. So
Yeah.
talks about what a CMA is. It's got all your contact info. It's got the map. Yeah. This is,
yeah, I just did 3 sold comps here. So, and then it goes, I have you can do it different ways with it. So I just have basically the front page of the listing here and then 1 page of pictures here.
Love it.
For each comp. So I go through. So when they want to get more detailed with it, I'll go through each of these and, explain when they closed and everything. But then at the end, there's just some statistics and I give them a price range based on.
And do you put that in there manually or is it spitting that out?
I put that in there manually. I do everything manually here because
good.
I used to be an appraiser, so I'm really picky about what comps are being used and the value. So I just want to make sure I'm doing it all.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. And in this step, my opinion right now is like you just want to have a range because we're not there yet. We just want to give the homeowner an idea of what the market looks like. We're not going super granular yet, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And that one I think said 430 to 460. Usually I do an even larger range.
Yeah.
That one was a condo, so condos are a little bit easier if there's model match sales. But if it's a house, I'll do an even larger range. Just
10% variance, like 4 to 450, something like that.
Yeah, usually around that.
Me too.
Yeah, so I don't want to shoot myself in the foot by giving them a price over the phone when I haven't seen the property.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So you have a quick conversation, and then on that CMA conversation over the phone, then the property owner now you've got more rapport, right? You've got more of a relationship. It's your second conversation. They're not as defensive. You've given them something of value. So let's talk about the follow-up. So that phone call usually yields into something like, okay, let's talk about what the future looks like. So can you just walk us through maybe what you're doing? Because most of your business or a large portion is coming through absentee owners, correct?
Yeah. Absentee owners. The follow-up is like we said earlier, it's the most important part. So you don't want to, I've lost so many deals from lack of follow-up. So I'm sure we all have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a couple folders in my Mojo account. So I have a monthly follow-up folder, and that's pretty much where most of the leads are going to.
Okay.
And then I have a hot lead folder, which when they're in the monthly and they're getting close to selling, I move them over to the hot leads folder. And my hot leads folder are ones that are ready to transact at any time. So I'm looking at those every day. And then the monthly folder, I'm looking at those every month, just circling through those. I'm at least, I don't necessarily call everyone every month, but I'm at least seeing it each month. And then if something's like really, if I absolutely have to call someone on a certain date, then I just set a reminder in my CRM to do that. But hopefully that kind of made sense.
Yeah. The monthly, well, it's exactly right. It totally makes sense because you're looking at them. The lead is staying top of your mind. You're looking at all the opportunities every month to determine, do I need to call this person or are they a little bit further out? Because you have notes in there, right? So if you talk to Bob, and Bob, I love the lead Bob. Everyone's Bob for me.
And Sue.
Bob and Sue are all my leads in my database. But if Bob tells me he's not selling until next fall, and I just talked to him this month, I'm not going to call him right now. But you at least have somewhere there where leads are not falling through the cracks. That's the most important part.
Yeah, I'm at least seeing Bob's name every month. So
that's right.
But yeah, like next year, I'm not going to call him every month until maybe we're a few months out or something.
Exactly. All right. So you've got a follow-up phone call system. Talk to us about your weekly email, because most agents are just not consistent with this. And you're one of very few agents that I've seen actually execute this with consistency, because you're making a piece of custom content weekly through BombBomb video that gets sent out to your entire database every week. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got me started on that a couple of years ago, and I just haven't stopped doing it. Every Wednesday, my database gets an email, and to me, that's just something that has my name on it, that's in their inbox. And I shoot a quick video, 1 or 2 minutes, real estate tip of the week. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but that's what I do. And it goes out every Wednesday. So it's just another way to stay top of mind,
That's right.
aside from the phone calls that I'm making.
And it's easy to do, simple to do. It allows you to touch everybody. And how many people are getting that through your email database now?
I want to say like 400 maybe or so.
And then BombBomb tells you that's a good size database. So 400 people, BombBomb then tells you who's opening them, who's watching them. Would you mind sharing can we look at one of the emails that you sent out just so people can get an idea of what those look like? Yours is, I like and you're sending it through BombBomb. And BombBomb makes it super simple, you guys. This is what I recommend for all of the agents that we work with anyway. BombBomb just gives you a simple template, or you can create a template. And then every month or every week, you're just plugging and playing a new video. Are you making the videos in BombBomb, or are you making them outside of BombBomb and then uploading them into BombBomb?
I am making them, I shoot them on my phone and I just upload them into BombBomb.
Yeah, so it's real simple, right? I mean, that's what we do too. We don't make it in the BombBomb platform, but I could probably pull yours up too, or mine. But
yeah, if you have it up, or if you have your email up,
yeah. Hold on, let's see.
You can search Real Estate Weekly. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last Wednesday was the last one. I just started using YouTube to store my videos, and you can put the YouTube link on BombBomb, so that way when they click it, they view your YouTube.
I love it. All right, you guys, check this out. I'll share my screen and I'll just show them real quick. So this is Kevin's BombBomb. This is what we do every single week. And BombBomb does a nice little HTML file. So it's like playing in the inbox, right? And then, so you've got your video, you've got your tips. They can go to your website, search your listings. Then you've got the real estate market, what's happening in your local market, which is great. And then your contact information with a call to action, right? I mean, we don't have to make it fancy. It's just really simple way for you to stay top of mind as you're generating leads every day. You throw them into your database, which is now, what'd you say, 450 people. That just keeps growing every day, right? You just keep adding people every single day to that thing.
Yeah. And the good thing about what I like about using Mojo is there's a button you can press, export to BombBomb. So it goes straight into my BombBomb list, and I don't have to go and log into BombBomb and put their information in.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it integrates with a lot of different CRMs too. So I'm not trying to push Mojo or anything.
Mojo is great. You're right. They really are. No, they're phenomenal. That's why we're doing this mastermind. It's like what works for Kevin. And so, yeah, I think BombBomb's got a great platform. It's phenomenal. All right. So, and then you're following up, you're doing the monthly thing, you're doing the weekly emails. Can you talk, this is more of a mindset of like the law of the harvest and like how important pipeline maturity is, because now you've run the full gamut, you've done the work, and now you're a couple of years into this thing where you're getting listings that come out of the database. When an agent's new, as you know, like they're doing all the work, but they're not getting any of the result because they haven't allowed their database to mature. Can you walk people through what that feels like now that you're experiencing it?
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to remember that you're prospecting today for future business, basically. And it's really hard to think that way when you're new. But over time, if you stick with it, you'll see that a lot of your listings and your business comes from people you contacted several months ago. So I think that's the hardest part about being a new agent, is you don't get to see that yet. And yeah, I mean, I get listings that I first contacted people 2 years ago or so, fairly often. So it's like I listed a FSBO earlier this year that was a FSBO 2 years ago. And I stayed in touch with him, even though he wasn't on Zillow anymore. and he listed with me because I was the only one that did that. So most agents aren't doing that. If you stay in touch with them, you're going to be the obvious choice once they do want to list their property. But yeah, that's the hardest part when you're new, is getting over that mindset of not getting any now business while you're making the calls.
Yeah, the instant gratification, because you got to build a pipeline. That FSBO you talked, was that this year you took that listing and sold it?
Yeah, that was earlier this year. Yeah.
How much money did that one listing pay you, roughly? Do you remember?
Like 13,000.
So that 13 grand of your income in 2021 was simply a result of the work you did in like 2019, correct?
Yeah, it was just someone I previewed. He was a
Yeah.
FSBO for 7 days and he pulled it off the market because he changed his mind. And I knew he would sell eventually. So I just put him in the database and called him every couple of months.
And that was simple. It didn't take a lot of your work. He was getting your weekly emails. You called him every couple of months and you made $13,000 this year in tangible real cash. I mean, that's why I have such a problem, Kevin, with that advice of like, if the person's not ready to sign a contract in 7 days, throw them away. I just hate that advice. Like, literally in your experience in the last, let's just call it 3 years, right? Because 3 years, you've really transformed your business, I would say. Like, how much business would you have gotten taking that 7-day advice versus the money you've made with following up with people longer than 7 days, would you say? What percentages would you give us?
I would probably not get any business really if I took that advice.
I know.
I went to a seminar a few years ago, and I won't name who the trainer was, but he gave me that advice and he gave everyone there that advice. He said, go through your database, and anyone that's not ready to do anything in the next 3 weeks, delete them. And I was in shock when I heard that. And I was, I almost wanted to stop and like say something, but it was to a huge crowd of agents. And a lot of them were probably new agents too. And that's what I was told when I was new too. And I believed it.
Me too.
Yeah, it's crazy that you shouldn't be allowed to coach agents if you're giving that type of advice.
It's so, I mean, wow, you just gave me goosebumps, Kevin. Look at you. I mean, that's so true. I think it's just like, I don't know if it's just like a coaching theory. I don't know where the advice comes from, because I don't know if ever, I mean, there's probably some one-offs, some expireds that you call, they're really hot, real motivated, that you can call one time, go get the listing. But like, I don't know, probably, and I'm guessing here, but like for me, probably 98% of the time of every dollar I've ever made as a real estate agent comes through multiple conversations and like just how it works naturally. You see somebody, whether it be a friend or referral or anything, like somebody thinks about selling, thinks about buying, and then they don't buy a house that same day. They don't buy a house that same week. I mean, just that's how life works. It just takes some time. I don't even get the advice how it holds any merit at all. I just can't understand it.
Exactly. And most people don't want to just hire a complete stranger. So you do have to spend some time, cultivating that relationship and building that trust with them before they hire you too. So
yeah. I mean, and I mean, I make the argument because now most of my business is like people I have relationships with. It's true with them too. Like I'll get a phone call. I get phone calls all the time. Like, hey, Brandon, it's Bob. Of course, it's Bob. This is Bob and Sue. We're thinking about selling our house. Well, Bob and Sue, I mean, it takes a meeting. It takes some conversations. It takes some strategic planning before they're signing contracts or putting a sign in the front yard. I mean, this doesn't happen this week. I'd like it to. I wish it was, but it's just not the reality of the situation. All right, so let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about the real estate market, what your thoughts are, what your predictions are, what you're seeing in the market. Are you seeing things slow down? Are you seeing days on market tick up? Just give me your Kevin O'Keefe's real estate market update, if you will.
Yeah, so things have slowed down a little bit here in San Diego. And by slow down, I mean, instead of getting 20 or 30 offers on a house, we're seeing maybe 5 offers.
Yeah.
So still, relatively speaking, it's an awesome seller's market. But inventory has gone up a little bit over the past couple months. And we're just seeing a bit of a slowdown. So it's not as crazy, which I think is actually a good thing. Especially for going after FSBOs, because FSBOs are, as the market slows down, they're going to have more challenges selling on their own.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's gonna gradually, I think inventory should gradually go up a little bit more throughout the year. And, I don't know how long the craziness can last, but it's nothing like it was a few months ago. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I do too. I think once the market slows down, it'll just be easier to get listings. There'll be a lot more for sale by owners, especially in California. There'll be a lot more expires. There'll be a lot more withdrawals, a lot more canceled. I'm really looking forward to that. And I hope, and I don't mean any disrespect to people, but I hope, we get 20-30% less agents, less licensees, because we got way too many agents, way too many.
Yeah, I agree. And flat fee companies.
Flat fee companies,
Yeah.
And like too many new agents that are just trying to capitalize on this hot market. Once things normalize, we will see the same amount of transactions, but it'll be easier to come across listings, hopefully less agents, less hobbyists, the people like the weekend warrior type people. And so we'll see what's on the horizon for you for the rest of 2021.
Rest of 2021, trying to make another 100,000 in GCI for the remaining 4 months. So that's the goal. Haven't made my goals for next year yet, but that's it for now on the horizon.
So are you guys, I guess we haven't talked in a while. What is it like in California? I mean, are you back in the office every day? Are you working at home? What does that look like?
Yeah, I've been at home. I have a nice setup here, home office.
Because you got a new place, right?
Yeah. So
perfect.
That's where I am right now. And it's quiet. So I can, I get stuff done here. I have my little prospecting station. And that's where I'm at. I was doing the office thing before COVID. And then that kind of changed a lot of things when COVID hit, because our whole office building shut down. So, but I'm pretty good where I'm at here at home. What I do though, a little hack that helps keep me disciplined is I still dress up for work every day. Even if I don't have an appointment, I'm at home. I could work in my pajamas, but I still will. I don't wear a tie every day like this, but I usually will dress up nice. That way I'm ready to go on an appointment if I set one.
Great hack. I mean, yeah, appointment or not, it's like put you in the mindset of like, all right, I'm at work,
Yeah, you just feel more confident making prospecting calls, everything.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. You've stayed I mean, I can talk to you for a long time, we can talk about all kinds of stuff, but you've stayed so consistent. And how have you done that? I think that's a really good thing for us to discuss. Like, it's so boring. It's so mundane. It's so, it's just so lonely. How have you been able to stay so consistent? Because that's Kevin, this is what you and I hear. Like, oh, I don't want to, it's so boring. I can't do that every day. How have you been able to just do it day in and day out?
Yeah, I think of the alternative to that is me going and getting a job. And I haven't had a real non independent contractor job for a long time. So I don't want to go back into that world, and I enjoy working for myself. So I just know every day I have to get up and do the work.
I love it. And the way I look at it, and I talk about this, and I don't want to promote the book, but like I talk about this in the book, like every day you don't prospect. Look at that. I love it. You're just postponing your income longer. You're pushing out income further in the future. And to your point, if you do that enough times in a row, you just won't be able to be in this industry. You'll lose the benefit of being an independent contractor, and you'll have to go back and start working for somebody. What do you think about the book so far? You started reading it yet?
Yeah, it's great. I'm about halfway through. It's an easy read. It's packed with information. So I would, anyone watching this, highly recommend you go out and grab it.
I tried to write it in a way that was very matter of fact, very not in your face, but like I just wanted to give you the truth. And my editor even made a comment. She was like, wow, I like the way you wrote this. Jim McCord, I don't know if you know Jim or not, but he's a big real estate coach too. He read it and he just gave me the best compliment. He's like, dude, you just were so detailed and you're so honest and you didn't hold anything back. And I really appreciated the authenticity. And that's really why I wrote the book, Kevin. Was like, I just want people to have the truth, it's what people need to hear. It's not what they want to hear, like I didn't really hold back, I was just like, here it is. Here's what you got to do if you have any prayer of making it in this industry. So it really, I love that you're reading it. Cause dude, when you write a book, it's one thing to put your own thoughts in paper, but to have somebody that you respect, like you, read those words, dude, it's incredible. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I have to read it. This is
Yeah.
what you've been teaching me for years. So I need to, yeah, I was excited to get it, and I'm excited to finish it out too.
I love it.
It's really fun seeing what you've done with the coaching program too, and with the book and everything. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, you've been there from the beginning, man. You're one of the, I think, the first agents I was working with.
Yeah, your coaching program has changed night and day from the beginning when I first saw it. Just everything about it.
Well, and the thing is, we're getting ready to launch the new program, and then we're finally doing our first live event in October. So I'm hoping you can make it. We're going to start promoting that here soon. But I'm really, really excited, really excited, because you can bring your fiance. We're going to do it's going to be a 2-day event, training one day on the Thursday. Friday is like a wedding. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So very cool, man. Listen, I love catching up with you today. Hopefully you guys watching this got a lot of takeaways from Kevin, who really has mastered the process of working absentee owners, which I believe is a gold mine. If you can just work that lead source consistently, high motivation of a listing lead source with low competition sets up to be a great opportunity. So, yeah, dude, thank you so much. And we'll have to do this again for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon, Kev.
All right. See ya.
See ya.